Good morning, everybody. It's Coach McGoldrick here. We're at RBR. Wanted to do a few quick videos here for those of you who can't join in on some of our summer stuff, just to have a general idea of how we do certain things. The first thing I'm going to demonstrate is the first part of our core and ab routine. It's a series of planks. So what I'll do is I'm going to set the video up here. I'm going to do my best job to explain as I go through and do it, and hopefully you guys can sort of keep up that way. Remember, this stuff is all really important, especially over the summer. What we're trying to do is we're trying to build strength, and we're trying to get ready for fast racing. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure we have a strong core, which is virtually everything from your chest down to the top of your legs. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the front plank, and then I'm going to go into the side plank, the rear plank, and then for the purposes of keeping with how we do it in practice, I'll do the other side plank. And like I mentioned, I will do everything I can to give you the best tips possible. First thing to look for in a plank is that in all of them, we want to be, it's called a plank for a reason. You want to be as straight as possible through your shoulders, your hips, and your ankles. So one of the things that requires is making sure that you are activating certain muscles. The big ones on the front plank and the rear plank are making sure that you're activating your glutes. Those are those three muscles that are in your rear end, for lack of a better term, but also that you're engaging your abdomen as well. A lot of people tend to concentrate too much on the abs, not enough on the glutes. But then on the front plank, you also need to make sure, and the rear plank, you need to make sure that you're also activating that top part of your the quads, like into that hip flexor in that area. On the side plank, you really have to mind those obliques. And you also have to be very cautious to make sure that you are in as much of a T-like position as possible. Oftentimes I'll refer to it as the power T position. So I'm going to do my best to demonstrate each one of these poses for you. And like I said, if you're not here with us at practice, this is something that we do usually 4 to 5 times a week, if not 6. So please make sure that you're getting this in. So here we go. Okay, so real quick, there you have it. That was front planks, side planks, rear, and then the other side plank. Like I mentioned, you really want to make sure as you're doing this, not only are you engaging the correct muscles, but one of the things I also noticed on the rear plank, a little bit too late, is that I wasn't breathing properly. So what you'll see is about 10 seconds or so into it, you'll see my abdomen rise and then fall, rise and then fall. You really want to make sure that as you do these, you are breathing through them. A wise friend of mine once told me that in yoga they say if you can't breathe through a pose, you don't own that pose. So we want to own each one of these poses because we do them quite often. A lot of times we'll do them in the weight room or some variation, but we do them at practice, like I said, 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 6. So that's the first one. Next up, I'll show you the second half, but that'll come in just a few minutes in a separate video. So thanks, everybody. Okay, here is the second half of our core and ab routine. This one's a little more dynamic, so there's a few more things to pay attention to. The first and the last one are called Navy SEALs. And this is a variation of the Navy SEAL where we're only engaging our lower half of our body, our legs. So a few things to keep in mind before I get to do them. I'm going to make sure that, again, my abdomen is nice and engaged. And I'm going to make sure that my legs go through a full range of motion. So my legs will be straightened out. And my toes will be pulled in towards my shin. For those who don't know, that is a pose called dorsiflexion, as opposed to plantar flexion, where you point your toes like a ballerina or a swimmer. In running, oftentimes what we want, more often than not, we want to be in dorsiflexion, so that way we can come off the ground a little bit quicker and we land with better form. So that's the Navy SEAL. We start with the Navy SEAL and we end with the Navy SEAL. Second is we're going to go into a variation of the crunch, which I will show you. With this particular crunch, I'll have my legs elevated in a 90-degree position, so my hamstrings and my quads will be perpendicular to the ground, and the lower half of my legs, the tibia and fibia, are going to be parallel to the ground. And as I do that, I'm going to reach with my arms, straight arms like that, straight up for the sky. Okay? So that's the variation that we tend to do. Third, we like to call the freedom twist. Some of you may know it as the Russian twist. With that, one of the things I want to make sure that everybody does, and I'll do this the best I can, is that when we do it, we turn our shoulders. A lot of times we have the tendency just to move our arms back and forth, back and forth. That's not how we want to do it. We don't get the full effect. So by turning our shoulders, we engage all sides of the abs, and that's what we want with this exercise. And then the last one, the last non-repeat, is we refer to as penguins, which a lot of people take as a minute break, but it's not. If you're doing it right, you will feel it, especially in your obliques. When you do that, the general idea is you want to reach for and tap the back of your heel. The master's level is to go from your right hand and tap your left heel. Left hand to right heel. That's the challenge, is to always get to that point. So I'm doing my best with what I have here to demonstrate each one of these to you. And again, for effect, because this is how we do it at practice, I'll finish with a few Navy SEALs. So normally we'll do about 45 seconds to a minute of each of these. I'm going to do about 15 or so of each one of these. Okay, so hopefully this will be okay. So Navy SEALs first. So that's Navy SEAL. Next up, I'll do the crunches, and I'll do them 2 ways. I'll do them facing first, and I'll turn to the side so you can see that. So facing. More of a side view. And then next, the freedom twist. Again, I'll do side view and front view. So here's the side. And then from the front, so you can see where my legs are. Okay, now penguins. Again, we'll do 2 views. Here's the front. So I'm going to go down, feet flat on the ground, back flat. And then finally, one last Navy SEAL. So one other cue that I forgot with the Navy SEALs is what I like to do is make sure that my heels are never more than 6 or 8 inches off of the ground. That ensures that you're going through the motions correctly. So anyways, that's our core and ab routine. Hopefully you guys took the time to look through this if you're new, and you will be making sure you get it done. All right? Thanks everybody. Bye.